Ladies and gentlemen, today I wanted to go over my honest thoughts on Black Ops 6 multiplayer based on all the information and gameplay we got from yesterday's reveal event. First of all, I want to talk about the omnidirectional movement that they talked about in yesterday's event. That was probably one of the main focuses of that entire event because it did seem like it was one of the biggest innovations that this entire game is going for. And honestly, one of the biggest innovations they've done in a long time for Call of Duty. Like in terms of movement, this is probably the biggest movement innovation since advanced movement back from Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, and Infinite Warfare. And I thought this was a long time coming. I feel like I always wanted them to try to do more advanced movement like things without actually making it boost jumping. You could do it without boost jumping. I've always said that. They could do a lot more with the movement while still keeping it boots on the ground. And it seems like they are attempting to do that. And I honestly don't see any negatives with the Omni movement that they've talked about. You have, of course, being able to sprint in any direction. So you can sprint backwards, you can sprint side to side, or just a normal sprint forward, of course. There's also the diving backwards or diving side to side, which that looks awesome. That looks like some really typical like 90s action movie type stuff, which it fits perfectly with this game especially. But just seeing the clips of people diving to the side while shooting, like that all looks amazing. And you can shoot while you're doing it as well, not like some of the recent Call of Duties where it wouldn't let you shoot while you're diving. And then sliding as well, you can slide in any direction, which technically you could kind of do in other Call of Duties already. It just kind of depends how you do it. If you like land from a surface, for example, in Black Ops 3, you were sometimes able to kind of like turn your back really quickly and you were technically doing a backward slide. But this seems like it's going to be something you can do a lot more often and a lot easier. You can just kind of slide in any direction you want, which I'm curious how that's going to play. I don't know how this is going to feel on a controller. I feel like it's going to be a little weird because even with my controller, I was just trying it out myself. I was just trying to click, you know, the button to sprint in different directions, and it doesn't feel as natural as it feels going forward, but I'm assuming we'll get used to it as the game goes on, and we'll probably feel just like muscle memory after maybe even just a couple games. There's also corner slicing, which at first I thought this was going to be kind of like Rainbow Six Siege, where you can kind of like lean certain directions whenever and wherever you want, but it doesn't seem like that's the case here. It seems like this is more so something where whenever you're ADSing up to any corner of any kind, it'll kind of like automatically do it for you. You can probably turn this off in the settings, I'm sure, so if you don't like that feeling, I'm sure you can get rid of it. But honestly, it seems like it's a pretty useful mechanic, and it most likely will just naturally happen most of the time anyways, and I feel like most of the time when you come up to a corner anyways, it makes sense why you would want that. And I actually like this a lot more if it's going to replace mounting. Hopefully mounting is not in the game at all. I was never a fan of mounting in Modern Warfare 2019 and the other recent Modern Warfare games. It's just not something I enjoy. I think it's a little bit too overpowered, especially with how you're able to basically get like no recoil as you do it, and obviously encourages camping and encourages just sitting still, you know, mounting your weapon on something and just killing people that come down some certain corridor. And I thought it was a really game-breaking thing in some Call of Duties, especially Modern Warfare 2019 and Modern Warfare 2. But I don't think it's going to return this game because we didn't see it in any of the gameplay, and it seems like corner splicing might be like the replacement for it, essentially. My only worry about the movement so far is tactical sprint. It does seem like it's making a return, and I honestly just didn't want to see this come back. I feel like it's just something that I don't want in Call of Duty anymore. I don't enjoy how it feels, and I think it's just an extra mechanic that feels kind of pointless. Just make the, you know, default sprint speed faster, and then there's no need for tac sprint. Like I just don't think it is a necessary feature, and to me just kind of takes away some of the classic feel that Call of Duty used to have. So I'm not really a fan of it, but it's not going to ruin the game. Like it's not going to be a game-breaking thing. It's just going to be one of those small nitpicks where I just kind of, I think to myself, I wish this wasn't in the game, but it's just one small thing. The rest of the movement seems amazing. I'm sure it's going to be faster than ever. It's going to feel really fluid, and as long as you can pull up your gun real fast with fast, you know, sprint to fire speeds, fast ADS speeds, then I'm going to be happy with this movement for sure. Next, I want to talk about the maps, and we actually had a pretty big look at a lot of different maps within the gameplay here, and a couple names that were given from various YouTubers. Actually, Inkslasher made a video and even discussed some of the map names himself, and there's a couple other YouTubers that, you know, threw out some map names, and we're going to go over some of those and just talk about the different locations because in my opinion they all look really solid. We obviously don't know how they're going to play yet. We have no idea what the actual layouts are going to be in terms of how they're actually going to flow, but we can just see their looks, and they all look really cool. Just a couple of the names of some of the maps. First of all, we have Skyline, which I believe Skyline is the map with that, you know, really, you know, rich looking mansion. That map looks kind of like Raid almost in terms of its design. I'm not sure how the layout's going to be. It might be nothing like Raid, but I mean the map itself, just the feel of it kind of almost reminds me of Raid a bit. Next we have Derelict, and just keep in mind these are all coming from various YouTubers, so it's definitely possible that some of them got these wrong, or maybe they just, you know, were misled. I have no idea, or they can change for launch. So none of these are 100% confirmed, but this map is one we saw actually a lot in the gameplay, and it was that map with the railroad, which that map kind of reminded me of Freight from COD Ghosts. I mean, just because it reminds me of those maps obviously does not mean it's a remake or anything like that. Obviously these aren't remakes, these are all new maps, but this map looks pretty cool, has a really cool green feel to it, which sometimes green maps look terrible, but for some reason Treyarch just does a great job with the maps that have a lot of green in it. For example, Apocalypse from Cold War, love that map, a lot of greens. I like the greens here, I like the look of it. There's also a map called Scud, which I honestly don't know what this map is. I believe it might be the desert map with that giant silo thing. That map kind of looked like Satellite from Cold War, which again, it's not Satellite, but it just kind of reminds me of it. And we also have a map called Rewind, The Pit, and Nuketown is confirmed to be in the game as well. We don't know if Nuketown's going to be at launch. They did confirm that the 16 6v6 maps coming at launch are apparently all brand new. So maybe Nuketown will come shortly after launch, kind of like what happened with Cold War, where it just came like, I think 2 weeks after launch and they dropped Nuketown for us. So that was pretty cool. And also keep in mind that these 16 6v6 maps, apparently 4 of them are labeled as strike maps, which means they're going to be playable in 2v2 and 6v6. Now this kind of worries me a little bit because if you guys remember in Cold War, there was a bunch of gunfight maps in the game that were playable within a face-off playlist, and they actually had a 6v6 face-off playlist that is still available to this day. And a lot of people enjoyed that mode. It was really good for camo grinding, but personally I didn't like it because they didn't let you use score streaks in that mode. And I really hope that's not going to be the case with these strike maps in Black Ops 6. I do not want these to be exclusive to a separate playlist, that you can only play these maps in that separate playlist and then there's no score streaks in them. To me, that would suck completely. I think the reason they did that for Cold War is they just wanted that experience where you can play those maps without score streaks, because I guess they worried about score streak spam. And also some of those maps were all indoors, so obviously some score streaks wouldn't even work on those maps. But I hope that these strike maps were not made like that. I hope these maps were made with score streaks in mind, and hopefully you can play them with score streaks. Maybe there's a separate playlist as well. I would be fine with them having a separate option if you want to play them with no score streaks, but I hope they're also available just in the main playlist. Kind of like what's going on in Modern Warfare 3, where there's a lot of small maps being added to the game. You have Stash House, you have Meat, you have, Emergency. All these are really small maps, but you can use score streaks on them. And I don't want to play COD without score streaks. To me, that's not really fun. I enjoy score streaks a lot. I think they're really fun to go for, and I think it would be kind of a miserable experience to try to play these maps and only be able to play these maps without score streaks. Apparently also these maps are going to have some dynamic elements. Now I'm not sure exactly what that's going to be like, but we do have a clip here of the one map with the the desert, where it shows 2 different screenshots of the desert being all kind of bright and shiny in daytime, and then a clip a little bit later where it looks a little more war-torn and it's at night. So does that mean we're going to be having like map variants, almost like what we had back in Black Ops 4, or even in some cases with Modern Warfare 3, there are some map variants in this game, but they're very different types of map variants. They're like the Vortex maps. But are we going to see something like that again? Or is this some sort of in-map element where something's going to happen during the match and it's going to kind of change how the map looks? I have no idea. I don't really know what that's going to be like, but regardless, pretty cool nonetheless. And lastly, about the maps, they did mention they are going to be classic 3-laned maps, which is great. Obviously, that's what we want. I expected that from Treyarch. Treyarch has literally never missed when it comes to maps. So I feel like no matter what, we're in for a really solid map pool here. My only criticism is that there does seem to be doors within Black Ops 6 maps, which I don't understand what Call of Duty's obsession is with doors. Apparently these doors you can like shoot open, which doesn't really make a big difference with the doors, to be honest. They're still going to be kind of annoying. Hopefully there's just not too many on the maps. If they can make it in a way where the majority of maps have either no doors or maybe just like 1 or 2 doors, then that's fine. I wouldn't mind that at all. I just want to avoid a situation like Modern Warfare 2019 where like half the map is just littered with doors. That would suck. And now let's talk about score streaks a little bit, because we do have confirmation that score streaks are going to be in this game, and they are going to be traditional score streaks for the most part. There are some worrying things about them, which we'll get into, but I'm just happy to know that this game is going to have score streaks by default as well. They did not say anything about kill streaks in this game, so I don't believe there's going to be any sort of kill streak, score streak toggle like what we had in Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, which in my opinion is a good thing. I don't think players should have the option to use kill streaks, because to me, those just encourage not playing the objective. Why would we even have that option there? Just make it all score streaks, and you'll be able to pick whatever ones you want as well. It's not going to be that bullshit in these recent games where the streaks are like categorized with specific values and you can't use certain streaks at the same time, which I thought was really dumb. None of that. It's going to be more like the Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3 streak system as well as Black Ops 4, where it's just use whatever the hell you want, a bunch of different streak values, and they're just traditional score streaks. The only thing that I'm concerned about, which I have not gotten confirmation on this, but there was one YouTuber who was mentioning this, where apparently the streaks are not loopable, which really, really sucks. And if you guys don't know what that means, loopable streaks are essentially being able to earn the same streaks in the same life. So for example, let's say in Black Ops 3, you're running the UAV, counter UAV, and the VSAT. You would be able to normally go through all three of those streaks and then restart from scratch in that same life. So if you earn that VSAT, you go back to the UAV, and then you go back to the counter UAV, then VSAT again. You can keep getting them again and again and again in the same life. And then once you die, you obviously restart just like you normally would. But with these recent Call of Duty games, they got rid of that. There's no loopable streak. So when you earn that last streak, that's it. You have no other way of earning those streaks again in that same life until you die, and then you can start earning them again, which is really, really stupid, because why punish someone for staying alive? If I am good enough to stay alive for that long and get that many kills in a row, I deserve to get my powerful streaks again. For sure. I don't know why they do this. I'm assuming it's because they're worried about streak spam, but this doesn't happen as often as you would think. Players aren't going on like 20 kill streaks per game. That just doesn't happen every single game. There's many games where the highest kill streak someone will go on is maybe like an 8 kill streaks or something. Like, it's not every single game that's like, oh my god, people are getting 20, 30 kill streaks. That doesn't usually happen. So like, why would this be a problem? You know what I mean? People aren't going to be constantly using the same streaks every single time in the same life. That's not what happens. And even if that does happen, who cares? They got it. They deserve it. They should be rewarded properly. This is definitely something that could change for launch. It could even change for the beta of the game. So I definitely recommend giving feedback on this, letting the developers know how you feel about this, obviously in a respectful manner, but just letting them know, because I feel like this is a no-brainer. This is something that a lot of fans want for score streaks within this multiplayer. And obviously we got to talk about one of the best things they announced yesterday, which really shocked me. Obviously we heard about the leaks a few days ago, but those leaks itself shocked me. Prestige mode is returning. I really thought Prestige was gone for life, to be honest. I was always so surprised that they ever removed it in the first place. To me, it never made sense. Like, the whole concept of removing such a traditional feature for Call of Duty is just so mind-boggling. But they're finally bringing it back, thank God. And it sounds like it's going to be, your classic Prestige system. You have 10 Prestiges, 55 levels per Prestige. You get some rewards, these Prestige, and then at that end of the 10th Prestige, you get to keep going up until 1,000. Now, I heard some people complaining that this wasn't enough Prestiges. They said, oh, there should be like 20, 30 Prestiges. And I think people don't really understand how long that would actually take. Just for reference, right? Black Ops 3, they have the whole, 1,000 levels thing. I'm like maybe level, like 300, 400 in Black Ops 3 multiplayer right now, and I have over 10 days played in that multiplayer. So, like, you're probably not, the average person is not getting more than a couple days played on any Call of Duty, really. So you really think that, more than 30 Prestiges would be good? Probably not. Like, I think that's definitely a decent amount. I think 1,000 levels after 10th Prestige is kind of perfect. And we don't even know how fast these levels are going to be themselves. Maybe they're a bit slower. We have no idea. And it's really cool that there's an actual reward at the end of the 1,000th Prestige. All I hope is that these actual rewards are good. They better be blueprints, mastercrafts, something for your weapons, whether it's a skin or a camo, or maybe like a character customization thing, a new operator. It has to be something like that. It can't be calling cards and emblems and that's it. They got to give us more than that. Obviously, having the calling cards and emblems as an optional thing is also cool, but we need something that's actually like on your weapon or on your character itself. To me, that's a no-brainer, and if they don't do that and it's not like a good-looking skin, then it's a giant missed opportunity. Next up, let's talk about Create a Class, and I'm honestly kind of disappointed with Create a Class here. I was really hoping we'd get a return of something more like Pick 10. And obviously, when I say Pick 10, I don't mean exactly the same Pick 10 system we had back in the day with Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3. They could obviously expand on Pick 10 and kind of combine it with Gunsmith and do something like that. I've always said for so many years now that they could definitely do a Pick 10 Gunsmith hybrid, and I think it would work just fine. And I know they've tried little elements from Pick 10, like in Cold War with the wild cards, and then now with Modern Warfare 3 and the Vest, which are basically like wild cards in a different way. And it seems we're going to be getting basically the same Cold War system back in this game. It's a little different. There's some new things you can do with the perks in terms of like using all 3 perks within one perk category rather than like having to use them from different categories. But I just can't help but say, like, why not give us more of a pick 10 like system? I don't understand. And honestly, a big part of me almost feels like they want to save that for the next game for some reason, because obviously the current rumors are that it's going to be another Black Ops game next year with 2025's game, and it's going to be a Black Ops 2 sequel in a sense. It's going to be futuristic, and to kind of make it pay homage to the original Black Ops 2, maybe that'll be the game where they finally reintroduce a pick 10 system. I kind of feel like that's a big possibility, and that might be the reason they didn't want to do it this year, which if that's the reason, that really sucks. I mean, I'm not saying that's confirmed as the reason, but I kind of feel that way in my chest. Like, I feel it. I'm like, I feel like Treyarch would probably want to do a system more similar to pick 10, and the only thing holding them back would probably be something like that. So I don't know. It's not the end of the world. I still think the system could work just fine. But the reasons I want a pick 10 like system to return, there's a couple reasons. First of all, it just gives you more customization. It's a no-brainer. It gives you more customization. It gives you more options for what you can do with your class. And to me, that's an important thing. And it has more to do with trade-offs as well. You know, if you want to get 8 attachments, you can't just get 8 attachments and then be fine with that. No, you have to remove some other stuff in your class. And what that really ends up doing is it actually limits equipment spam, which in my opinion, equipment spam has been one of the biggest issues with every Call of Duty since Modern Warfare 2019. It has been a huge problem because every single class is forced to have equipment. You don't ever get a chance to like not have equipment on your class, except for like 1 or 2 vests in MW3, which again, I do like the whole vest system for the most part. But if they were to give us the option to like use no equipment and then get more attachments or more perks or something, most people would probably do it, which would lead to less equipment spam, which is great in my opinion, because I can't tell you how many times, I'm playing Shipment or really any small map, or even sometimes on bigger maps, and half the game you're just getting hit with concussions and stuns and C4s and claymores and all these annoying things. It's just so frustrating. And it was so nice back in like Black Ops 3 when, like, yeah, sure, every now and then you'd run into a trip mine or something like that, but you wouldn't have consistent spam of grenades and all these concussions. Like, you would not have that because simply people aren't using them on every single one of their classes. Every now and then you might get a game where people are using a bunch of different pieces of equipment, but a lot of times they just simply don't. And I really do miss that. And I feel like we're only going to ever get that back if we actually get a pick 10 like system back. So I don't know. We haven't seen the full system, but at least based on what, the different creators have been saying from the creators who have played Black Ops 6 early, it sounds like it's just going to be like Cold War system, just with some minor tweaks. And the last thing I want to talk about today is actually time to kill. And the reason why I save this for the end is because we actually don't really know for sure what the time to kill is like. Some people were trying to guess what the time to kill is like based on the gameplay shown in the footage, but you really can't judge it off of that, because if you actually go back to like old footage from prior reveals for Call of Duty, they always make the time to kill a lot faster than it actually is. For example, going back to the Black Ops 3 reveal trailer where they showed a lot of in-game footage of the multiplayer, the footage of it was very clearly showing a time to kill that is much faster than what it is in the actual game. There was a clip where the guy was using the MR6, right? The MR6 pistol, and he was killing people in like 2 shots, which if you've ever played Black Ops 3, you know the MR6 does not kill in 2 shots. Like, that just doesn't happen. So obviously they were making the time to kill a lot faster, probably just to make the cinematics feel more cinematic, because would it be as cinematic if, players were sitting there shooting someone a bunch of times? Probably not. So I do think the time to kill is not going to be as fast as it is in the gameplay footage we see. But what worries me is that some creators were, talking about time to kill a little bit. There's even a tweet here from JGod. He was replying to Revived Gamer saying the time to kill has me worried. And JGod replied and said the multiplayer will likely be slightly faster than Cold War in terms of the time to kill. That worries me because I don't want it to be faster than Cold War, but let's say it is slightly faster. Technically, slightly faster than Cold War is basically what we see in Modern Warfare 3 this year. And I personally am okay with that time to kill. I don't mind that time to kill. But honestly, with a Treyarch game, I want it to be as slow as it could be. And Cold War to me was like the perfect time to kill. I wanted it to be like that. But if it's at least slower than Modern Warfare 3 this year, I'm okay with that. And I think I'll deal with it, right? It's not a big deal. As long as it has a relatively slower time to kill and it's not, like Modern Warfare 2 or Modern Warfare 2019 or Vanguard, then I'm happy. That's all I really need, but I guess we'll have to wait and see for more information, and we'll get to see what it actually feels like when the full game releases, or at least I guess when the beta comes out, really, which I believe the beta is rumored to be coming out August 28th to September 3rd. That's the current rumor, and I believe that's like literally a day after the Call of Duty Next event, which is going to have the full multiplayer reveal. So Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I will see you all in my next one. Peace out.